Jensen. This is my co-host Tucker. He is co-hosting from heaven. So we'll get started here. We'll wait for everybody to kind of jump in and we'll get started. We are live every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central, every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central. As a reminder, this is not medical advice. It's for information purposes only. So I'm hoping that you will bring your questions. We'll try to answer them. I do have a little bit of a teaching lesson to do today, and it actually will it'll feed off of a question that I received on Facebook last night, as well as one of our listeners on Instagram yesterday. We are live on YouTube and Instagram, so I'm glad to have you guys here. And we'll get started. I think on YouTube it's always a little slower. You guys on Instagram are always jumping in right away. We are today going to talk about a strict carnivore diet and fatty liver. So first off, how many of you out there listening right now are eating a carnivore diet? How many are carnivore? How many are really ketogenic? I'm actually going to see if I can move this off of here. There we go. But how many in the crowd right now are a ketogenic or even a carnivore eating animal-based diet and maybe even struggling with an LDL that is over what the three-letter agencies tell us it should be? We'll wait and see. Also, let me know where everybody's listening from, what city, what state, what country. I appreciate that. Also, on Instagram, there is a live fundraiser right now for rescue, rehab, and rehome. I did reach the $200 mark, so I appreciate that. Angel is listening from New York City. Thank you for being here, Angel. I appreciate that. All right. And Cindy's listening from Williamsburg, Virginia. And Teresa loves meat. Me too. I really do. But sometimes there can be a trap, and we can get into that. It just depends. Everybody's body is different. Baron is listening from Haiti. Melanie, are you in New Hampshire? Teresa is in Glendale, California. We got them from all over. I'm not going to see very many Iowans, I don't think. So getting started with if you are if you are consuming a carnivore diet, for the most part, eating a carnivore diet. Jack is listening from the Republic of Ireland in the house. Thank you, Jack, for being here. I appreciate it. Sunny is listening from Atlanta, Georgia. And yes, Melanie is in Massachusetts. D. Taylor is in Helsinki, Finland. That's a new one for me. I don't know that I've had anybody from Finland listening, but what time is it there? Anyway, we had a case study that came up yesterday, and it was after the live stream ended. It was actually a question on my live stream on Facebook, and it was a female, I believe in their 50s, and they discussed that their LDL was 163. So you guys probably by now think, you know what, a 163, that's kind of high. We should probably, maybe look into it, right? They had an ALT of 37. That is a liver enzyme. It is produced by your hepatocytes in the liver. So liver cells release ALT or AST enzymes when they are stressed out. So the actual liver cells inside the liver, called hepatocytes, can release an enzyme, a liver enzyme, like ALT and AST. So her ALT was 37. Normal or optimal is between 10 and 15. She goes on to tell me that she had ultrasound confirm that she has non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, meaning she doesn't drink alcohol. It did not, the alcohol did not cause her fatty liver. It was something else. She goes on to tell me that she had an MRI that confirmed non-alcoholic fatty liver disease as well. She's physically active, lifting weights, walking 10,000 steps a day, Her insulin level is 4. Optimal, 3 to 5. Hers is 4. If her insulin level is 4, she tells me she's a strict carnivore. I would end up believing her because of those numbers. Okay? So I'm going to believe she's a strict carnivore because of those numbers. Under normal low insulin, the liver should clear its fat. Yet she's had confirmation of fatty liver disease, which is very interesting. Okay. Normal circumstances, if you have low insulin, you're not going to be laying down fat inside the liver. So a completely non-insulin mediated pathway is trapping liver fat. Okay. Why? Why is her liver trapping fat when her insulin level is near, I mean, it's optimal. Okay, it's 4. Yo, boy, you might need to see your doctor in regards to your alcohol problem, okay? So maybe Angel can let me know if there's, or Jack, please let me know if there's any any concerns over there on YouTube. I would appreciate it. So let's start out with a conundrum, a paradox, a bottleneck. Let's start out with the first bottleneck. Why a fatty liver could be occurring in a carnivore or a ketogenic low carb individual with a low insulin who's active and has confirmed fatty liver disease. Let's talk about the copper zinc bottleneck or the zinc copper bottleneck first. Muscle meat is very high in zinc. As you guys are learning, zinc and copper compete for receptors. So if zinc is high, copper is going to be low because zinc actually stimulates something in our gut called metallothionein. Metallothionein binds to copper inside the gut cells. And then when you have the next bowel movement, you will basically end up having a bowel movement with all of your copper inside. So you will get rid of your copper through your bowel movement because of metallothionein, because of high zinc. Now, animal meats in general, especially the ruminant meats, are high in zinc, which is going to put most people at a copper deficiency. The next bottleneck I want to discuss is methionine and glycine. Red ruminant meat is very high in methionine. It's a sulfur amino acid, and glycine has to be around in order to neutralize it. If this strict carnivore female is eating a bunch of muscle meat and not eating any bone broth, not eating any cartilage, not eating any skin, this particular individual is going to be very high in methionine and very low in glycine because glycine is not in muscle meat or not in high doses, okay? So if there's no glycine to buffer the high sulfur methionine, and there's no glycine in order to make glutathione, remember, glutathione is made up of 3 amino acids. It's made up of cysteine, glutamate, and glycine. So glycine makes up a third of glutathione. And if you're low in glycine, you can't make glutathione. Your glycine is being used up on other things. So you don't have it available to make glutathione. Glutathione is an antioxidant. If you are low in glutathione, then you can't help your own liver that is under a massive assault from the Fenton reaction. Where the heck did the Fenton reaction come into? Well, it came in the first bottleneck, the copper zinc bottleneck. If zinc is high and copper is low, you get low ceruloplasmin production. You need ceruloplasmin in order to cart around iron. So if copper's low, ceruloplasmin is low, iron gets driven into the liver and it can't get out. So it is trapped. Iron driven into the liver then undergoes the Fenton reaction. And the Fenton reaction will end up producing reactive oxygen species. Let's just say that. It's a hydroxyl group, okay? And that leads to the liver inflamed, and when it's inflamed, it's going to release an enzyme ALT or AST. All making sense now? So things that could be causing this fatty liver in this woman, despite the fact that she's on a carnivore diet, physically active, lifting weights and walking, and an insulin level of 4. Bottleneck 1, high zinc, low copper. Bottleneck 2, high methionine, low glycine. Number 3, if all of this is going on, your body now starts making ceramides, and ceramides actually suffocate your mitochondria. If you don't have healthy mitochondria producing ATP, you're like instead of a burning furnace, you are in a deep freeze. Your mitochondria are not making ATP. You are going to store fat. You can't burn fat without active mitochondria. You can't burn your mitochondria can't work if you don't have copper. So you can see that despite the fact that this young lady was eating a animal-based diet, she had very low insulin. She's not eating any carbs. She's metabolically, on paper, looks really good until you deep dive. And she tells you that, yeah, I'm gaining a little bit of fat around my waistline and I got fatty liver. How can that be? I don't even eat carbs. I don't drink any sugar. All I eat is animal based. I eat some eggs and I eat red meat, ruminant meat. So you see where in certain people that her diet being very high in saturated fat, that saturated fat is for the most part palmitic acid. Palmitic acid is a carbon 16. It's a long chain saturated fat. And because she's eating the saturated fatty meat animal-based diet, she's going to be high in an amino acid called serine. And when palmitic acid and serine get together, they basically will suffocate the mitochondria. All right, no ATP production, and your ATP basically it plunges to 0. Now the liver cannot burn its own fat. The ceramides that are being produced halts or stalls beta oxidation, fat burning. So how do we get to the solution, or what is the solution? One, if we were being very thorough, we would want to get labs. Okay. We want to get a full thyroid panel. We want to get an iron studies. We want to get iron studies. We want to get all of the iron studies. So we want to get an iron level, a ferritin level, a transferrin level. We want to get, you know what? You're done. We don't need that kind of stuff on here. Okay. All right. So, where are we at? Oh, labs. Okay. So lab wise. All right. Lab wise, we're going to get a full thyroid panel, TSH, free T3, free T4, a reverse T3, a TG, and a TPO. We're also going to get your iron studies, iron, TIBC, ferritin, transferrin, and a saturation level. Okay. All right. So that is for labs. Now, do you want to know Why is your LDL high? Do you have FH? Doubtful at a 163. Do you have, are you a hyperabsorber? Probably not at that level. Probably not overactive NPC1L1 receptor in the gut. Probably not. But should we look anyway? Should we get a cholesterol balance test? Should we get an FH genetic panel? Maybe. But what we should do, if for sure, is get an NMR or a cardiac IQ test. We need to know particle size. Okay. So if we know particle size, we're going to know is this young lady making a lot of small, dense LDLs because her liver is so fat? You see, normally, when insulin goes down, your liver will stop making fat. It will stop making glucose. But in her case, she's probably still pumping out glucose from her liver, despite the fact that her insulin is low. So we definitely have caused some metabolic problems, yet it's not really showing up. And the solution, an easy fix, even if she didn't get labs, what she could do is alter her incoming fat. And we talked about this yesterday with Katie. If you alter the incoming fat and you lower the animal saturated fat, you're going to starve that ceramide pathway, which requires so much palmitic acid and serine. So if we alter the amount of saturated fat that comes in. So say this particular person is getting 100 and let's just say 150 grams of fat. If we lower it in half to 75 and replace 75 grams with monounsaturated fat, we have pretty much solved the um, the problem of her liver choking on its own fat. Okay, just simply by doing that. What I'm talking, how do you lower your saturated fat? You would just choose leaner instead of ribeye. You're going to choose filet. You're going instead of cows or beef, you could choose bison, buffalo, sheep, lamb, deer. Those are leaner sources. You could eat chicken. You could eat more fish. Those are going to lower your saturated fat. And that might be enough that you wouldn't necessarily need to add monounsaturated fat. But Katie yesterday, and I don't know about this other individual, and it it's not any more common in females. It's just that it happens to be two females who brought the same topic up. Okay, and that is very interesting to me. Um, so maybe neither one of them really needed to increase monounsaturated fat, but it could help lower LDL in general. And that looks like maybe olive oil or avocado or macadamia nuts. And I think that's what Katie chose, was the macadamia nuts. Another thing that this individual can do to help her liver, help her body fat, help her liver burn the fat, would be adding back glycine. Glycine is found in collagen, it's found in bone broth, it's found in tendons and bones. And so Katie says, you know what, I just don't, or whatever lady, I just don't have time to make all that stuff. Can I just take a supplement? That is an option. So yesterday we talked about adding in Paleo Valley. Again, I don't work for them. I don't endorse them at all. I'm just saying that that is an option, is Paleo Valley bone broth protein powder. 1 scoop a day will give you about 3 grams of what you need in collagen and glycine. Remember, you need both of them. Um, to make collagen, you need glycine, hydroxyproline, and proline. Hi Julia, if you just took pure glycine, guess what? You'll be low on hydroxyproline and proline. So maybe doing a combination of the Paleo Valley and a pure glycine source. So getting both, okay? And I believe somebody mentioned Jack asks, does magnesium glycinate provide enough or any glycine? If you are getting an equivalent of 400 milligrams of magnesium, elemental magnesium, it's attached to the glycine, then you're probably going to get about 2 grams of glycine in your supplement. Okay. Is that enough? No. So our body makes 3 grams. So it is a non-essential amino acid. However, we need so much that we call it conditionally essential. We need about 12 to 15 grams in today's modern society, okay? But these two individuals that are strictly carnivore, guess what? They might need 15 grams because they're eating so much methionine that they're going to need glycine to neutralize the methionine. Almost, I believe you need 2 glycines for every, or excuse me, yeah, 2 glycines for every 1 methionine. So you're going to need quite a bit. So in the magnesium glycinate, to answer Jack's question, there's going to be about 2 grams. Our body makes 3. So now we're up to 5. Then you're going to take a scoop of pure glycine. There's another 3. So we're up to 8. And then you might do Paleo Valley. There's another 3. So now we're up to 11. There's a little bit of glycine, maybe 1 gram in the meat you're eating. So now we're up to 12. So you can see where it might be a little difficult to get enough glycine without supplementing through the day. And then you got to be, um, you want to be strategic in dosing it. Like for Jack, or anybody, you might want to take the magnesium glycinate and the pure glycine at bedtime. Both of them will help people sleep better. So magnesium is relaxing, glycinate lowers body temperature and is calming. So it's going to hit the parasympathetic nervous system and or block sympathetic fight or flight nervous system. So it's going to lower our body temperature, lower our pulse, lower our blood pressure. That's what taking it at night would do. You might want to consider taking the Paleo Valley in the morning. So you do your collagen bone broth in the morning and you do the other 2 or 3 things at night. That would be one option, okay? Let's see. Dimension says, okay, Dimension is given their own experience, so we will move on to any questions. Henry says, been sleeping like a baby since I upped my glycine supplementation from 3 to 9. Awesome. So that's great. Now, Henry, when you upped your dose of glycine to 9, did you get any loose stools? Because when we up our glycine, a lot of times our gut will react and we will get some diarrhea initially for the first couple of weeks until our biome accommodates that new change of amino acid that we were so low on. So it'd be interesting to hear. Teresa asks, having a gallbladder removed, does that impact your cholesterol number? No. What it does impact is your ability to store bile. So when you eat a fatty meal, it will be released a lot faster if it's stored in your gallbladder. So your liver is still making bile. It still secretes the bile whenever it sees fat to emulsify it. But here's where the problem comes in, Teresa. If your liver is sluggish because of fatty liver disease, how do you think your bile production is going to be? How do you think the bile is going to be moving out into the ducts? This is something that's very important. We got to look for, as doctors, we need to look for elevations of ALT, AST, GGT, and ELK-phos, alkaline phosphatase. With that, we'll be able to still determine the health of our ducts, the health of our hepatocytes. It's there's a lot to be looked at. So if your bile is not if your liver's not functioning, your bile's not good, your cholesterol is going to be impacted, not because of the gallbladder. Okay? That was a good question. Thank you. Teresa says LDL is 253, HDL is 75, triglycerides 90. So still have a little bit of a metabolic dysfunction with higher trigs to HDL, but it's just a little over 1. But with that LDL of 253, you probably want to look into that. You want to get an NMR. You want to determine how many small dense LDLs you have. You want to get an LP little a. You want to get clotting factors. Clots are going to be the cause of heart attacks, not building up plaque, although that plays a role because of the clots. Okay. Checking your thyroid. Maybe your thyroid is hypofunctioning and your cholesterol LD/LDL is up. A lot of things going on, Teresa, and that's why it's always, good if you can afford it, to go over your labs with me at least one time and get an idea of what's going on. So consultations are a good thing if it's affordable in your wheelhouse, okay? Let's see. Hello, Angela? No, Angel. I already said hello. Okay. Um, Still, I'm just gonna shorten it. I hopefully I don't slaughter your name. I just don't want to mess it up. There seems to be a lot of magic in glycine. There's a lot of magic in all of the amino acids. It's just that it just so happens that vegans and carnivores are low in glycine because of what they eat. I mean, vegans, for the very fact that they're not eating any animal, any animals at all, will not have any glycine. And carnivores on the way opposite end of the spectrum are eating a bunch of animals, yet they're consuming tons of methionine, which needs glycine to neutralize it. So you run out of glycine. So in that aspect, yeah, I would say that glycine's magical. Is it magical for inflammation? Absolutely. If you have high glycine, necessary to take care of, because yes, glycine is anti-inflammatory. So all of the things inflamed in your body are going to be lowered with glycine. But what is causing the inflammation in the first place? Is it high sugar and high insulin? Is it high blood pressure? Is it, what is causing the inflammation? Yes, taking glycine will help, but shouldn't we remove whatever is the cause of the inflammation first? Yes. Then we work on our glycine. Does glycine help with thyroid? Absolutely. But remember, the thyroid needs functioning copper, the thyroid needs functioning iodine, the selenium and zinc. The thyroid, it wouldn't, could the glycine help it? Yes, but what else is causing problems with your thyroid? This is why going over everything and figuring out everything is very important, okay? Learning your whole history. I'm just getting bits and pieces on your comments, and I'm trying to decipher what is likely, speculating what is going on in your body. I could be completely wrong, but sometimes I get it right. Miriam says GABA is the only supplement that helps me sleep. I've been taking 500 to 700 milligrams of magnesium glycinate for decades. It was never enough. So Miriam has what I'm assuming is a hyperactive sympathetic nervous system. Miriam is in fight or flight all the time, but especially at night. Especially at night, she's trying to wind down, and her fight or flight hypersympathetic nervous system is going in overdrive. Could it be from high insulin, so high blood sugars? Yes, but let's not assume that Miriam is on a ketogenic diet and does not eat any sugar before going to bed that would raise insulin, that would stimulate the sympathetic nervous system. Let's just say that that's the case. Let's give Miriam the benefit of the doubt. But Miriam, just by the very fact that she's a hypervigilant type A or hypersympathetic nervous system type of person, She needs calming. So GABA, which is a parasympathetic hormone, glutamate is a sympathetic hormone. She is going to use GABA to calm the glutamate. GABA, maybe 700 milligrams of GABA. Continue with the magnesium glycinate at 4 or 500 or whatever dose that she is doing. So Miriam has figured out that a synthetic GABA that our body should be making on its own, but not enough because we got other things going on. What Miriam needs to be aware of, another thing, Miriam, is your nitric oxide level. If you have an overactive sympathetic nervous system, you are using a lot of nitric oxide that your body is making normally. It should be making normally in a normal artery in the endothelial cells. You should be making enough nitric oxide. But if you're using up all of your nitric oxide to calm your sympathetic nervous system down, then your arteries, Miriam, might be vasoconstricted. Yes, GABA will help, open them up, but we somehow got to work on our hypersympathetic nervous system, your overdrive of sympathetic nervous system, so we can get nitric oxide back in the mix. If you say, I've been working on this for years, it's not working, what can I do for nitric oxide? You might want to consider L-citrulline malate. Maybe a dose of citrulline malate daily will help with nitric oxide production. Healing the endothelial cells. Remember, if you're sympathetic overdrive, you're going to be highly inflamed. High inflammation injures the lining of your arteries. That's your injury, even though you're a ketogenic, carnivore, animal-based, whatever. We're making that up. I don't know what Miriam eats, but if Miriam was doing everything perfect, her stress, sympathetic overdrive, causes inflammation, messes up the arterial lining, decreases nitric oxide production, and you get vasoconstriction, which leads to high blood pressure. High blood pressure is a shearing force on the arterial lining, injures it even more. A blood clot goes to try to fix it, and that soft core blood clot can either stay there and get stabilized, okay, by calcification, or it could break off and cause a heart attack / stroke. How do we dissolve that clot before maybe it gets calcified? We want it gone. Doctors will say, oh, we got to take a statin because we need to calcify everything. Well, okay, I see your point, but for me, I would rather get rid of the clot in the first place and not calcify it, okay? I don't want any calcification just as much as I don't want any soft plaque. The reason I have calcification is because I have the soft plaque. Let's get rid of as much soft plaque as I can possibly get. Is Miriam going to be able to do that in a highly inflamed environment? No. Even if her insulin level is low? No. Inflammation trumps everything. So what I'm talking about is the macrophage phenotypes. In a highly inflamed environment that Miriam is in with a hypersympathetic overdrive, there's going to be inflammation and stress. Okay. And that encourages M1 macrophages. They thrive in an inflamed environment. M1 macrophages do nothing to help dissolve the clot. So we need M2 macrophages. So we already have a low insulin environment, great, but we need a low inflammation environment for M2 macrophages to kick into gear and start taking care of that and dissolving that clot. So it goes back to Miriam has to work on removing sympathetic overdrive. If you're a highly stressed person, you need to work on that. You can have a heart attack just because you're stressed. Getting sleep and GABA is important. I agree. But we got to work on what's causing the sympathetic overdrive, the hypervigilance, the type A, whatever it is, the work, the whatever. Okay. All right. That was a very good question. Thank you for that. Okay. Did the gallbladder question. It's a lot better, you guys, if you put a Q in front of the, you're very welcome, Teresa. put a Q in front of your comment so I can see. Teresa says, your knowledge is amazing. I wish my doctors would go into detail that way, the way you do. Well, Teresa, you were probably here yesterday and we were here for over 2 hours explaining and answering questions. What if you were the person with everybody's question? Your doctor would have spent 2 hours with you, made $100 and would not be able to make a living. Or they can make a living, because I make a living, okay, by consulting with you guys. And I don't see as near as many people. Now, they probably make $300,000 a year, and I don't, okay? But they probably spend $300,000 a year, and I don't. So there is a difference. But no, Teresa, they don't have enough time. I don't even know that they know all of this stuff. And I'm painting a broad brushstroke. Why don't I think they know it? Because I didn't know it. And I consider myself a highly educated person, but I didn't know it. I didn't have time to know it. But leaving my job, closing my practice, my physical practice, because my nurse retired, that changed everything. But really, it was starting to change a year, maybe even 2 years prior to us closing the physical practice. And I spent, as my nurse, I was spending way too much time in the rooms with these patients, only because everything was backing up, not because I was spending way too much time, because the time was well spent. Just like I'm spending time with you guys, it's well spent. But Teresa, they probably have a condition of ignorosis and they have a condition of inability to budget their time. They are working for money, they're not working for you. Okay? They need to pay their bills, and their bills are higher than mine. Steven says magnesium glycinate 300 milligrams has worked for me. I get a deep sleep. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Sounds like magnesium glycinate is the winner today. Okay. Henry says, I'm Dr. J, I might have had loose stools the first couple of days, but stools are normal now. And that can happen. That's normal. It actually tells you, Henry, that it was working and you were low, okay, on that glycine. You already knew you were low on glycine. You added to feel amazing. You got diarrhea. You knew you were low. All right. Miriam says, does Wilson's temperature syndrome? I'm not sure what that is. Help me out. Uh-oh, guess what? Instagram just threw us off. What do you think about that? Amazing, right? For those of you who know, Instagram does not like Dr. J's live fundraisers. They don't like Dr. J's live anything, really. All right. Okay. We're signing back on Instagram, so hopefully those who were listening will come back. Hi, Monica. Thanks for being here. Phyllis is here. Glycine versus Tudac. There's no comparison, okay? They work differently. You can take them both, but you definitely, if you're low on glycine, you need glycine. If you are wanting to help your liver decongest and help with the fatty liver because you've caused it because of a high insulin diet, then yeah, taking Tudac, Tudac, might be in your best interest for a short period of time. Sorry about that on Instagrammers, but thank you for rejoining. We got thrown off. I apologize. Um, yeah, boy, I think you probably need to go see your doctor, and we are going to do a little timeout because I'm sure that they have a real problem, but you guys, we're here to help you with your questions. Okay. Have you ever heard, Carl? Have you ever heard about soaking okra and water? I heard it helps with diabetes regulation. Crash, I don't know if you're new here, but my answer to you is why add something when you need to take something away? Diabetes is a disease of carbohydrate toxicity. Okay? Diabetes is carbohydrate toxicity. You got diabetes from over-consuming carbohydrates. So if you remove the carbohydrates, you remove the diabetes. That's my answer. Sil says, recently I have often felt sore for several days after having lifted weights in the gym. 61, postmenopausal woman with an elevated LP little a. Did I trigger M1? Yes, but a lot of times our body cycles between an M1 and an M2 phenotype. But let me tell you that if you were constantly exercising still, so 24 hours a day, you will have had elevation of your M1 macrophages, and they would never have a chance to get into the M2 phenotype. In addition, people who overly exercise, running, 100-mile through the mountains runs, all these things that people are doing, long bike rides, so competitive cycling and all of that, you are increasing your risk of coronary artery disease. Okay? So Sil is lifting weights, and I don't know what kind of a diet you're on, so hopefully it's a low insulin provoking diet, but does have elevated LP little a. So the only way LP little a becomes a major problem is because it's a clotting factor. It helps make blood clots present. Blood clots, if they're never there, then LP little a doesn't do anything to a blood clot that's not present. Meaning, if you keep your arteries healthy and flexible, and that goes back to the glycine and to the collagen protein powder from Paleo Valley, you're increasing the strength and elasticity of your arteries. You're increasing their flexibility. They are dynamic. The reason that they become a problem is with injury like sugar or alcohol or smoking or polyunsaturated fatty acids in overdoses like seed oils, things like that, or iron overload can cause an injury to the lining of the artery. Now, LP little a becomes a problem. If you have factor V, that becomes a problem. Prothrombin mutation, a problem. Factor VIII, a problem. Clots are the problem that we need to be watching out for. And having an elevated LP little a over, say, 10, some docs will say 30, that just tells me that you have a propensity for clots. But it's not the only thing causing a clot. If you have fatty liver, you also have a propensity of having a clot. Why? Because liver fat, visceral fat, releases or secretes a hormone called PAI1. PAI1, plasminogen activator inhibitor 1. Blood clots. Increases the risk of blood clots. Okay? So, blood clots, not LDL. Nowhere have I mentioned LDL yet, have I? And it's not all LDL. It's small, dense LDLs that we get from having high VLDLs and eating sugar. Okay? Carl also asks, do you have thoughts about taking melatonin on a regular basis to get deeper sleep? If you are that hyper sympathetic overdrive person, I cannot recommend melatonin. Okay? As we age, our melatonin production goes down. It naturally goes down. Because we don't have our own natural production. And the reason we don't is because we have the blue lights on all the time. We have our phones on all the time or our computers, and we are stimulating our brain with blue light up until the point we go to bed. And there's not enough time to make melatonin. Plus, we got the TV going. So melatonin production is going to be low. Does that mean we should take it? Not in all cases. Like I said, if you are in sympathetic overdrive all the time, I would not recommend it. Okay. Let's see. Have you ever tried berberine for insulin? Why would I have to take berberine for my insulin? If I want to control my insulin, I'm going to control the things that raise insulin, blood sugar and cortisol. I don't take a supplement to try to lower something, a natural hormone in our body, and not stop what is causing an elevation of our natural hormone. Sleeping giants, hopefully that I'm not trying to be uh I don't know what the word is. Is it condescending? I guess no, once you get to know my protocol, I want you guys to be off of things, not on things to treat things. Now, if Katie or the lady on Facebook absolutely don't want to eat organ meats and they don't want to take or don't want to make bone broth and they don't want to eat tendons and cartilage out of the animal, then maybe they need to take a Paleo Valley collagen bone broth protein. And maybe they do need to take pure glycine. And maybe they do need to take magnesium glycinate. But when it comes to a metabolic disturbance and you have high insulin, my first thought is get rid of the sugar, get rid of stress. Well, not get rid of it, but lower it. We need stress or we would die. We need to be in fight or flight or we would die. A lion would come up, tap on our shoulder. We'd say, "Hey, how you doing?" And they would eat us. We wouldn't even run. We need a fight or flight system. Phyllis says glycine versus TUDCA for fatty liver with no gallbladder. How about both, Phyllis? How about get your gallbladder in order? How about shrinking it down? If you're a carnivore, you lower your saturated fat, increase monounsaturated fat. If you are eating a standard American diet, you need to lower your insulin level down between 3 and 5. That requires going very, very low or no carbs. So it doesn't really matter if you have a gallbladder or not. But if you're a vegan, you need glycine. If you're a carnivore and you're eating only muscle meat, you need glycine. Now, if you have fatty liver and it's from high insulin, then I would suggest you can do TUDCA for a short period of time. Ali says for GABA, you might need vitamin B6. If you are a vegan, you might need vitamin B6, but hopefully the carnivore person is getting enough B6 or B vitamins in general. Anybody who eats plants is going to have a diminishment of B vitamins. So GABA might not work, right? Why do anybody eating plants have a problem with B vitamins? Because when you eat plants that have oxalates and phytates and tannins and saponins, all of those things decrease the absorption of our B vitamins, calcium, magnesium, zinc, selenium, iron, copper, amino acids. That's what plants do to us. How do we avoid that if we still want to eat plants? Boil them. Boil them for 20 minutes. If you boil the plant, whatever it is, you'd be boiling your oatmeal, for sure boil it. You'd be boiling your vegetables. You'd be boiling everything for 20 minutes to get rid of the oxalates and phytates. But thank you for that, Monera. I appreciate that. Sleeping Giant says, I get a bad reaction from glycine because it antagonizes NDMA receptors and creates excitatory response and then need GABA to counteract. I'm going to have to look into that about the NDMA receptors. So I'm going to write that down right now so I can look into it. Thank you. NDMA receptors and increased stimulation. Secondary to glycine. Okay, we're gonna look into that. Thank you. Maggie says, can you help with MGUS? No, I really am very poorly educated in that. Henry takes berberine to reduce blood glucose, but again, Henry, why is your glucose elevated that you need to take berberine for? Okay. Thanks for being here, Diane. I appreciate it. Okay. You know, we have to be very careful with taking stuff that lowers blood sugar, especially for my animal-based listeners out there, is that during the evening, you can actually cause a hypoglycemic event. Is it enough to kill you? No, but is it enough to trigger your sympathetic nervous system? Yes. That raises cortisol, and that will secrete or cause the liver to secrete glucose. So now we have the reverse problem of what we're trying to accomplish. Yeah, so wants to understand glycine and glutathione. I mean, do you want me to go to back to the very beginning? If we're eating a lot of muscle meat and eggs, they're full of high in methionine, high in the sulfur amino acid methionine. In order to neutralize methionine, you need enough glycine, but muscle meat has no glycine or very, very little and extremely not enough to take care of the tremendous amount of methionine that is in muscle meat. So if we don't have enough glycine, we cannot make glutathione. Glutathione is composed of cysteine, glutamate, and glycine. We cannot make glutathione without glycine. If you are glutathione depleted, then you don't have the master antioxidant that can help with your liver fat or any other liver problem for that matter. Glutathione is the master antioxidant. It needs glycine, glutamate, and cysteine. Yep, you're very welcome, Carl. Sleeping giants. See, this is where we start getting into what I call whack-a-mole medicine. Whack-a-mole supplements, whack-a-mole medicine. Sleeping giants is saying try N-acetylcysteine with glycine to really make it effective. So what you're doing is you're taking synthetic cysteine now. You're likely getting enough cysteine. You're getting enough glutamate. What you're not getting is enough glycine. So taking NAC, N-acetylcysteine, another amino acid, it doesn't help with glycine. It might give you too much cysteine that you don't need. Okay. I don't know, but just blindly starting to take all of these supplements is probably not in our best interest, and let our body make its own glutathione. Okay. Yeah, Henry, I agree. No pain, no gain was one of the worst things I was taught 50 years ago. Too much exercise is almost as bad as no exercise for atherosclerosis. I I agree. I agree. I overdid it as well. Yes, I do, Ruth. I like to subtract instead of add for health. I agree. Thank you, Ruth, for bringing that to everybody's attention. Julia says, I'm healthier today than I was 3 months ago because of Dr. J. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're very welcome, Phyllis. Henry says, I went sugar-free, including fruit, starch, and alcohol-free a year ago. One of the best changes I ever made. Excess weight fell off easily. Yeah, and you unchoked your liver so you could your mitochondria could start burning some fat, right, Henry? Maggie says suddenly anemic, 3 transfusions, test negative for gastric bleeding. How about Maggie? Are you having heavy periods? I mean, that's a way to lose blood. So look at the areas where you're losing blood. Also, anemic. Did you get a complete iron panel, an iron level, a transferrin, a ferritin, a TIBC, and a saturation? Did you get your full thyroid panel? Did you get a CBC and a CMP? Did you look for liver dysfunction? You can tell a lot by the CBC. Did you get a reticulocyte count? A reticulocyte count. Is your bone marrow pumping out a bunch of baby cells? Is your bone marrow working? We don't know if your bone marrow is working. You don't have a bleed. Most bleeds, even if you had a bleed, would heal itself, okay? It would stop bleeding on its own. So then over time, 120 days, you should no longer be suddenly anemic. Ali says N-acetylcysteine can dissolve mucus or thin it, thin secretions. Might be beneficial in the case of congested lungs, but it also dissolves mucus in the intestine, which can be a problem. See how you guys are well read. Ali is well read. So taking stuff when we don't need it can be a problem, okay? If you are sick, like Ali suggests, you got a cold, you're congested in your lungs, taking it for a short period of time might be okay. All right. Taking it on a long-term basis might mess with your intestines. Um, Larry says, you're very knowledgeable. Thank you. But did you know that when you guys put a but disclaimer in there, it means that whatever I just said means nothing and everything I'm about to say means everything. So we should probably reword it. Larry says, you're very knowledgeable. Thank you. I'm a person that needs everything simplified. Are you able to simplify particular topic that would help me understand? Larry, isn't that a better way of asking that question? Because I'm not sure what it is that I need to generalize or simplify. Which topic, and I'll go back over it, Larry, and I hope that you would understand. And I'll just make it as simple as possible. And if I'm still not there, you just have to keep coming back for more. A lot of people listening right now have been with me for a year, listening and learning. It's a journey. We might not, Larry, you might not get it on this session or the next session or the 10 sessions in the future. You still might not get it, but on the 20th one, you're starting to connect the dots. That's how it works for me. I don't just listen to somebody like Larry and get it the first time. I don't. I have to keep learning it over and over and over again. I need repetition. And sometimes I need a person to dumb it down. And it's not that I'm dumb, but maybe I just need to take what they just said and plug it into Google or some sort of AI and say, hey, here's what I'm going to do. Hey, Google AI, whoever I'm talking to. Somebody in the live stream brought up NDMA receptors and increased stimulation, sympathetic overdrive, secondary to glycine. Help me understand it because I don't get it. What are the NDMA receptors and how are they affected by glycine? That's how I have to go learn something, Larry. And I'm sure if you are like me, you might need to do it that way. But when I don't know something, I just go look it up. And how do I know I'm getting the right advice? I don't know. But when I start connecting the dots, then I can start saying, hey, AI, you forgot to mention, okay, let me give you an example with this lady with an LDL of 163, ALT of a 37 with an insulin of 4. What it spit out was This lady is in trouble. She's going to have a heart attack if she doesn't get on a high dose statin and get her LDL below 100. And I'll say, do you recall me telling you that she was a carnivore? What if she's eating too much muscle meat? It is high in methionine and low in glycine. She's also high in zinc, which will lower her copper. And now that's one of the reasons that she's getting fatty liver. And you know what AI will tell me? Oh gosh, you're really using some advanced clinical thinking. And then it spits out everything in regards to that. But Larry might not have known to ask about the muscle meat, but I had connected that dot a year ago about muscle meat and homocysteine and methionine. I had already been connecting that dot. So what AI initially spit out was take a statin, lower your ApoB. Do you have a high LP little a? Those are the things that AI is going to spit out with this fatty liver disease in a carnivore person, and not once mentioning the copper zinc bottleneck or the methionine glycine bottleneck. It also didn't mention the ceramides. It didn't mention the saturated fat having a carbon 16 palmitic acid mixing with the amino acid serine going through the Fenton reaction, blah, blah, blah. Okay. It didn't do any of that. So I had to feed it some things I knew in order to get a full picture. And that's what I'm going to have to do with the NDMA receptor. Okay. I got to connect dots. Yes. Yes. That is that's for First Thessalonians 5:21 through 22. Test everything. Test everything. Examine everything carefully and hold fast to that which is true, Jesus, and abstain from everything that is evil, Satan, the world. That's how I know when things are true. But yes, it's going to take more and more education, and God will lay it on my heart. If something doesn't sound right, I get this weird feeling. And then I might say just a quick prayer and say, bring me clarity. What do I need to look up? And then I just start going down rabbit holes. That's how I do it. I go down rabbit holes. And yeah, I've been wrong. I probably will still be wrong. I could be wrong on everything I just told you right now. But but I think I was wrong before. I think I was more wrong before thinking fix the LDL on a piece of paper and everything will be magic. It's not, because people are still having heart attacks and we're getting more and more diabetes. You know, I heard Dr. Uh, um, I think it's Ali Nadir, Nadir, talk today on a lecture series. And he said, and this, it made me giggle because I'm working out, right? And I'm doing some tricep pushdowns. And he said, statins are the worst medication that could ever have came into the earth being. And I just started giggling because I was thinking, he said that in public, out in public. That takes a very brave person. He's a cardiologist, by the way. And he's probably on the low ketogenic spectrum of eating. And he admits when he is not, when he is doesn't know, and he admits when he is wrong. And I love that about him. Okay? And I take great pride in saying to you guys that I don't know, but I'm going to look it up. Okay? I don't know. It doesn't make me inferior. I'm just letting you know I don't know as much as you don't know. Okay? Uh yes, God, I love that verse. First Thessalonians 5:21 and 22. Test everything. Hold fast to the truth. I love it. Hello, Richard. Lisa says, you speak so many facts that I have never heard any doctor's answer to my questions. Lisa, they might have ignorosis. Osis means a condition of ignorance. So you have to feed them with knowledge, Lisa. Sunny says, I saw one of your reels about glycocalyx and injury. Is there a way to repair that injury? I had a double carotid artery scan, no hemodynamic stenosis, so no narrowing that would affect blood flow. That I'm just trying to make it easier to understand because they're probably reading the carotid artery scan showed no hemodynamic, so blood flow stenosis, no narrowing that caused a change in the blood flow. Her right, or his, is it a here? Sunny, I'm just gonna, their right carotid intimal medial thickness corresponds to a vascular age of 74. This person's carotid in our neck, a carotid artery, has layers of thickness, and one of those layers is the intima, the media, and we measure the thickness. And if it's thick, that means it could be narrowing the carotid artery. Okay. We're not only going to look at the flow, we are going to look at the narrowing. If there is plaque in the carotid artery, there is likely, not always, but likely plaque in the heart. If there's no plaque in the carotid arteries, does that mean there's no plaque in the heart? No. No. Is there a way, going back to the question for Sunny, is there a way to heal the glycocalyx? Simple answer, yes. How do we repair the injury? One, take away whatever's causing the injury. Is it alcohol? Get rid of it. Smoking? Get rid of it. Sugar? Get rid of it. Seed oils? Get rid of them. Is it stress and inflammation and cortisol? Work on it. Increase parasympathetic tone. There is also a supplement called arterosil. Arterosil. It is a plant. I believe it's seaweed. And it has shown healing repair of the glycocalyx. I don't know, you guys, but if I had damaged arteries, I'm just saying, if I don't even know if I have damaged arteries. I could. If I have damaged arteries and I know that I have soft plaque, let's just say I got a CT angiogram with a Clearly, and it showed a lot of soft plaque. That soft plaque tells me that I have a break in my glycocalyx and likely a break in my endothelial lining. It goes glycocalyx, then the endothelium. If I have a soft plaque and there's a lot of volume, I might just think about taking arterosil, even if it's for a short period of time. And I'm going to fix whatever is causing an injury to my glycocalyx. Okay. And for me, that is going to take a lot of looking. Okay. It's going to take a lot of looking. Oh, if biological age is 20 years younger, can I reverse that? Yes, you can reverse it. Don't worry about the age thing, Sonny. Just work on the repair. Get rid of the injury, the injurious, whatever is causing the injury, and then maybe, just maybe, take arterosil. Looking through, I'm live on Instagram and Facebook, so right now I'm looking for questions on Instagram. So Yali has a question. I had a homocysteine level of 10.32. Is that good or bad? It's not bad. It's probably fine. Less than 10, right around 8 to 10 is where we want it, Yali. So you're right on the edge, okay? Ah, Joe takes arterosil. That will be awesome. How long? Well, I guess we can talk about it, but I'd like to know, like, how long have you been doing it and what was the reasoning? Was it for the soft plaque? Was it for the glycocalyx? You're very welcome, Sonny. Joe says you have to take it for at least 9 months. It's gonna take 9 months at least, if not a year, to heal that glycocalyx, you guys. But you have to remove the injury, okay? Henry. Henry is helping me out. It's Dr. Nadir, Nadir, Dr. Asim Malhotra, Ivor Cummings, and Dave Feldman are doing great job pushing back against statins. Awesome. Yeah, I read Dr. Asim Malhotra's book. It's called A Statin-Free Life. It was a good book. It was maybe on a lower level. I mean, a lot of the stuff I knew, but it was nice to hear it. It was nice to hear it from a different perspective. So it was a good book. So if you guys want to read A Statin-Free Life by Dr. Asim Malhotra, give it a read. Dave Feldman just did a movie. I think I don't know where it's at. Is it on Prime? I'm not sure, but I have not watched it yet. No, Henry, do not stop the press. Did I recommend a plant? Oh, you guys are making me giggle. Thank you. That made me laugh. Um, just like any medicine, we might need to take something for a short period of time. I think I would take an algae or a seaweed before I would eat a man-made plant or a man-made something or other, okay? I think when it gets down to it, I'm trying to avoid any man-made chemicals or man-made plants. I'm hoping that the seaweed and the algae would be natural, but I can't claim that. Um, I think a lot, and maybe we can talk, but making sure that we have enough omega-3s will help with the glycocalyx as well. Omega-3s are more anti-inflammatory than omega-6s, but it's going to be our index that's going to be very important. So I think that is a great test to get is the 6-3 index is just knowing where you're at. Do you have enough omega-3s? If you are consuming simply plants for your omega-3s, you're going to be struggling for a lot of years. Okay. It's going to take a lot of plants because we as humans cannot really convert ALA, which is in plants, to DHA and EPA. The conversion is very, very low. And I just don't think we can get enough. And that's why vegans take alga oil. They're taking more because they know that they're probably not going to be able to eat enough ALA to get enough DHA and EPA. Okay. Shift says, how do you get rid of heavy metals naturally? That might be a question for the crowd. I'm I'm drawing a blank right now. I am sure that there is probably some supplement out there that, you know, will help naturally get rid of heavy metals. I knew during COVID, they were promoting a product called Zeolite, but I'm not a fan because it's going to decrease absorption of other things that we really need. For instance, let me give you an example. If you find out that you're eating carnivore and you have the zinc copper bottleneck, meaning you have a lot of zinc and therefore you have a lot of copper. And if you take something to bind heavy metals, like zeolite or whatever it is, fiber even, you're going to bind up even more copper and you're going to be even lower in copper. So taking heavy metals and binding them up might be not in our best interest. I don't know. I'm just giving. Melanie says charcoal and zeolite. Those are two things that she's heard about. Okay. Rich. Oh, wait. Let's see. Why would vitamin A be low if you're carnivore? It's possible that low vitamin A and low copper ride together. If you have high vitamin D And low vitamin A, well, let me think through this. Let me think. I know that low copper, low A leads to low ceruloplasmin, which leads to iron trapping in the liver. If you are a carnivore, are you going to be low in vitamin A? I'm not sure. Um, I mean, I think if you're getting some sort of fish, like I eat sardines, I don't know if it's going to have something to do with vitamin D. Could you be hyper-dosed of vitamin D and have low vitamin A? Somebody could look that up. Very high doses of vitamin D3. Taking vitamin D3 cannot lower vitamin A. So it might not be the carnivore diet. It might be the fact that you're taking other things. I'm not sure. Um, Richard says, yesterday when talking about why you stopped eating plants, you mentioned a book. What book was it? So I mentioned actually two things. I mentioned Anthony Chaffee's YouTube series on why plants are trying to kill you by Dr. Anthony Chaffee, Chaffee. After I heard that lecture, and in the midst of that, I was reading a book called The Big Fat Surprise. The Big Fat Surprise. It really changed my whole outlook on really everything that my medical career was based on. It threw me in a big loop, okay? I'm not gonna lie. And a patient actually brought that book to me. I started reading that book before I listened to, or maybe a little before, I listened to the lecture series by Anthony Chaffee. It was like 3 years ago that I watched that and read that book. It was one of the first books I ever read when my patients were telling me that I was wrong about cholesterol and LDL and statins. They told me I was wrong. And had they not brought me those books and encouraged me to keep looking, I would not be where I'm at today. So I am very thankful for those patients. There was probably a handful of them that really cared about Dr. J and really cared about how Dr. J was going to proceed sharing medical information. So those patients, I don't know if they ever listened to me or not, but yeah, it's that was an amazing time in my life. Um, Pet says vitamin A on carnivores addressed with organ meats and cartilage bone. Okay, so I'm guessing that if you're carnivore and you are eating muscle meat only, then you could be low on vitamin A. We shouldn't be just eating muscle meat for the very reasons I told you about the copper zinc bottleneck and with the methionine glycine bottleneck and with the ceramides and the low mitochondrial function bottleneck. So we now know that we can't just eat muscle meat, eggs, and butter. We need to make sure that we're eating nose to tail, getting bone broth, getting organ meats. I'm, it's something that initially you might think that you don't need it. And then 3 years later, you go, something is missing. And Dr. Nadir, Nadir, actually talked about this morning. He was not sure that we need organ meats. He has talked to Sean Baker, who also agrees you don't need organ meats. But I'm going to tell you, you guys, I think you need organ meats. If you have a a zinc copper bottleneck, you got high zinc, low copper, and you need organ meats. And I believe kidney has the highest amount of copper. And if you don't eat organ meats, then maybe you're going to need to take a copper supplement. Okay. All right. I'm not, I just can't. I think Dr. Nadir is open to listening. He's just admitted that he was not educated and he couldn't speak to that. Okay. I just got thrown off of Instagram. Wow. All right. We're back on Instagram. Henry says glutathione is a natural chelator and reduces heavy metals from the tissue. So one more reason to have high glutathione, right? So we need glycine, cysteine, and glutamate. Yeah, Ruth, plants have a lot of heavy metals. They have a lot of chemicals. Thank you guys on Instagram for coming back. I do apologize. That is the third time. Oh, no, that's the second time. So this is the third take. This is part 3 of Instagram. Lisa says her vitamin D levels were down to 8. I'm guessing that's the stored vitamin D level. What was your active vitamin D level? Do you have a lot of body fat? Remember that vitamin D is fat soluble. It will get sequestered into our body fat. We cannot absorb it if we do not eat fat. So if you are taking vitamin D or not taking vitamin D, you're not in the sun. If you do not eat a fat filled diet, you cannot absorb vitamin D or A or E or K. Those are fat soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. So you need fat. Okay. You need fat in order to absorb fat soluble vitamins. If you have a lot of body fat, your fat soluble vitamins can be sequestered, can be stored in your fat. When you lose fat, you release the vitamin D. It's magical. Yes, Richard, I did mention Anthony Chafee. Yep. Um, if a woman in perimenopause, so around menopause, we're going to guess in their 40s, is bleeding heavily, but has, did you mean is not bleeding heavily, but has iron deficiency? Could this be because of iron trapping? Absolutely. So your iron could look low, ferritin could look low. If you have iron trapping, your ferritin can be actually high or low. So that throws people off if they don't know that. Okay. But yeah, if you are low in copper, if you're taking way too much vitamin D and vitamin C and zinc, you're going to be low in copper. And when you're low in copper, you can't make ceruloplasmin. You won't have ferroportin to transport the iron out of the tissue. It gets trapped. You have free iron oxidizing, rusting in your liver, causing fatty liver disease. I would need to look at a lot of labs, a CMP, a CBC, a full thyroid, a full iron panel. I would like to get a copper level, a zinc level, a selenium level. You can get a ceruloplasmin level as well. So Ollie was already thinking, I was already thinking low copper, low vitamin A, low glycine. There you go. There you go. You start adding these things back and all of a sudden your iron trapping goes away. Let's see. Melanie, did I miss something? I see you're commenting on something. Ferritin level of 190. Should I be concerned? Yes, you should figure out why you have a 190. And do I do consults? Yes, I do. You can email me at ironladydoc@aol.com. And if so, how much is your consult? Okay, it's $150 as of March 1st per hour. $150 per hour. I charge by time. Melanie says, I agree with Designs for Health brand. Also, VitaTree, high standards for testing and ingredients. I've never heard of any of those, and I don't know what you guys were talking about. So sorry, I just jumped in. You're very welcome, Ruth. I appreciate you being here. Okay. Henry says, need organ meats for minerals. Yeah. Please say the name of the book again. The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teicholz. Nina, N-I-N-A, Nina Teicholz. T-E-I-C-H-O-L-Z. Nina Teicholz. How best to test for zinc and copper? I would just get a serum zinc and a serum copper. It's much cheaper. Get a serum zinc, serum copper, serum selenium, but I would get an RBC magnesium level. Okay. I would also get a stored vitamin D and an active vitamin D. So get a calcitriol level. Now, Melanie, it's the Instagram is cutting out. I'm sorry. It's not your Instagram. It's my Instagram. Okay. Ruth says, an N of one, we will find out. Some of those are the best experiments, N of one's experiments. I love that. N of one experiment. So we do an experiment on ourselves, like I'm doing one on me right now over the past 2 weeks, and it's working beautifully. I I'm like Ollie, where I suspected something, highly suspected something was going on, and I made changes, and then the things that was going on are now gone. It's simply amazing how our body works, but it takes an open mind to know that, hey, Dr. J is eating an animal-based diet, rarely eating, if any, plants, and doesn't extremely eat a lot of organ meat and doesn't eat a whole heck of a lot of bone broth occasionally, right? Is there a reason that Dr. J got into the zinc copper bottleneck? Yep. What about the methionine glycine bottleneck? Yep. And probably has elevated ceramides and fatty liver? Yep. But it can be reversed, okay? It can be reversed, and I'm not scared. I mean, I might have been a little nervous. Of course, if you got fatty liver disease and you're not eating sugar, that is just like the lady on Facebook, exercising, physically active, lifting weights, walking, insulin. I'm guessing mine is pretty low. Who knows? I'm going to get my labs checked this month sometime. But if simply adding in some organ meats, more organ meats, and simply taking some glycine and some collagen supplement, yep. And maybe like, is it Sunny was taking GABA? Maybe that is it too. It's just interesting that maybe Sean Baker, his body works like a well-tuned machine and doesn't need glycine, more glycine. Maybe he doesn't need more copper. But sometimes you can look at somebody's skin and you can tell by their skin how healthy they are. You can tell iron overload. You can tell alcoholism. I can see alcohol a mile away. I can see diabetes a mile away. I could probably pick out iron overload a mile away when it's really bad. I can see it. I can see a lot by people's eyes and their skin. And then I look at their body habitus. What does their body look like? What is their shape? I can tell a lot. Okay. It's interesting. I was at the gym this morning and I saw a couple in there and they work out all the time and they're very fit. But I've noticed that one of them is starting to develop an enlarged belly, muscular everywhere except for the belly. And the first thing that jumps to my head is they got fatty liver disease. They got fatty liver disease. And I want to say something, but you don't just say something. I don't know them. So yeah, that's hard when I can see stuff. To-do-do. Yep, big fat surprise. You got it, Richard. The big fat surprise. Lisa is taking calciferol to get what? To get what up? To get vitamin A up? Is that what we're talking? Is that what you guys are talking about? Maggie says, can you get mad cow from bone broth? I'm not sure. Oh, I got you. Ali is saying this is for a friend, not myself. I solely introduce her to these possible deficiencies. Always look things up and provide information confirming that there's a connection, but in a simplified way. Good job. So you listen. So, okay. Um, I wrote down a quote. Oh my gosh, Ali, you might have been reading my mind. I'm not sure. So I was reading something this morning. I get up and I read, and this was the quote that was given. When you lead, you recruit others to recruit others. When you lead, so I was thinking about myself. Dr. J, when you lead, you recruit others, Ali, to recruit others, her friend, their friend, I'm not sure, her friend. That is the gift of leadership. That was the quote this morning. When you lead, us talking to me, when you lead, Malia, you recruit others to recruit others. That is the gift of leadership. And I never really felt that God blessed me with leadership. I think God blessed me with educating. He blessed me with teaching skills, not as much leadership skills. But if leadership, the gift of leadership is when I lead, I actually recruit the Ollies of the world to recruit others. How many of you listening have shared my information and said, you learned something about muscle meat being high in methionine and low in glycine, and then you go tell somebody else that, and then they tell somebody else that. So you have essentially become a leader as well. You're not like, I don't mean that you're a tell-all, or you got to be a know-it-all. I'm just saying, you happen to notice that somebody's on a certain diet, a vegan diet. Let's just say it's a vegan diet, and you say, "Oh my gosh, they're low in glycine." And then you ask them and say, "Hey, I noticed that you're vegan, but are you making sure that you get your creatine, carnitine, carnosine, glycine?" And yeah, you guys are being leaders. Chris says, "I can smell cancer." That is that is a gift, Chris. It's kind of like, it reminds me when you said that, it reminds me when I was a resident, the smell of a hospital, the smell of a room. When I would go into a patient room, I could almost smell what their diagnosis was. You could smell their sickness, their illness, and a lot of times you could tell what their illness was. Crazy. So yeah, Chris, I don't know if I would want that gift to be able to smell cancer. I just, ugh. Henry says, great leaders are great teachers. Well, thank you, Henry. I appreciate that. Tina says, does fatty liver disease also go hand in hand with insulin resistance? Yes. So for the most part, except for what we talked about in part 1, when we first started this whole live stream, this whole teaching session, high insulin, which is insulin resistance, is a cause of fatty liver. If you listen to Ben Bickman will tell you that you cannot make a fat cell fat without insulin. A fat cell cannot get fat without insulin. Okay? But in order to have insulin, you must have a substrate. Could it be high protein? Yes. Could it be carbohydrates? Absolutely carbohydrates. Could it be fat? No. When insulin is high, it causes fat, it causes fuel, whatever this substrate is. This case, let's do carbohydrates. When insulin is high, or carbohydrates are high, insulin is going to be high. And it's going to create a need for that fuel to go somewhere. Is it going to go into a fat cell? Is it going to go into a liver cell, a muscle cell? But fat cells cannot get fat without insulin. So fatty liver disease most commonly arises from alcohol and fructose. with glucose being a close third. Alcohol and fructose are the highest producers of fatty liver disease. And then there's medicines and there's all kinds of stuff. But if we're talking simply what we're consuming in our diet, those are the three main. Okay. All right. Vicky, is dry eyes related to menopause? It started at this time. Yes. Your meibomian glands, meibomian glands, your lipid producing glands in your eyeballs. Yes, you do get dry eyes because of low estrogen. But is that the only cause? No. It needs to be looked into. As we age, those glands secrete less and less lipids. Also, when we're on our phones, okay, there's something called blink rate. Blink rate. If you blink a lot, you're going to have increased amounts of secretions being released from your eyes. So the lipids will be secreted more when you blink. Because we're on the phone and our computer all the time, our blink rate actually goes down. And so without that blink rate high, then our eyes dry out. So getting off your phone would be in your best interest. Does that have anything to do with menopause? I'm not sure. Let's see. Low B12 hypothyroidism. My daughter was just diagnosed with hypothyroidism, a B12 of 170. Yeah, that is low. I wonder what her homocysteine level was. I wonder if she has MTHFR. Did she get checked for MTHFR? I would check that. I would check a homocysteine level for sure. Wow. B12 of 170. Does she have something problem? But I would check a folate level. I would check a CBC. I would get a reticulocyte count. Does she have macrocytosis? Is the MCV over 90? I would check that. I would check liver function. If liver function is bad, like if she's got fatty liver disease or she's got cholestasis, then all of that backfires. Everything is upstream, downstream, you guys. I'm trying to think of all the things. It simply isn't, let's just go give some B12. We got to figure out why her B12 is low. You could start with the MTHFR, but I would figure out, if she's in the 20s and she's not eating well, and yeah, so Allie says, yep, she's got fatty liver. That is probably the cause right there. Okay. So a reticulocyte count would prove that her bone marrow is still working. But, I'm guessing her MCV, she's got macrocytosis, meaning an mean corpuscular volume over 90. She's probably, if she's got fatty liver, she might have cholestasis. So her alkaline phosphatase will probably be over 100. That's an enzyme that's produced in the ducts, the bile ducts. If elk phos is over 100, that person likely has cholestasis. Yeah, there's a lot going on, Allie. There's a lot going on. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Summer Love says, I'm in my 30s and have extremely poor vision. Is it far away vision or up close vision? That docs are saying is hereditary because my father. Is there anything I can do to improve or help preserve the vision I have left? Well, Summer, I mean, if you talk to carnivores, they will tell you that carnivores, their eyesight got better when they decreased all the inflammation. I will tell you, if you are farsighted, I don't, because you're farsighted, it changes the shape of your eye over time. So as you get older, the shape of your eye changes in farsightedness. And so it gets elongated and your eyes actually age faster because of the shape or the length of your eyeball. It changes shape. When you're farsighted, you're having to use your muscles a lot more to accommodate far and close up, far and close up. So if you were farsighted as a child. By the time you're 40, 45, your shape of your eyeballs have aged to your 70s. And so that's why you can't see up close. You need reading glasses. Now, I don't think there's anything about eating carnivore that can change the shape of your eyeball. If it did, then something would have been going on for me by now. Also, you have to test refraction. Have you ever put on pinhole glasses? Pinhole glasses. They're glasses with tiny little pinholes in them. Can you see normally without any glasses through a pinhole? If you can, you have a problem with refraction, and that's what you and your doctor should discuss. Okay? Summer is near and farsighted with astigmatism. It's rough. That is rough. That would not be, yeah. So you have bifocals, I'm guessing. You need both. You need to see far and you need to see near. I can no longer wear contact lenses because they don't have any strong enough anymore. I'm not even 40 and I'm terrified for the future. Yeah. Um, that is not a topic I know. I mean, I just gave you about all the information I know about the eyeballs. And yeah, so I'm not well versed on that, but if part of your condition is inflammation, is insulin resistant, by changing your diet, by you know, changing your fat content, it could help your eye. What I would never do is go to a plant-based diet. How about that? That I would never do. Yeah, you're welcome, Allie. Do a consult. Just email me at ironladydoc@aol.com. IronLadyDoc. Ironladydoc@aol.com. Let me see. Did I miss any questions over here? Looks like I got everything. Looks like I went over everybody's question. Are we good for today? This was a really good one today. Oh, that's a good point, Ruth. You're right. Um, People with Parkinson's, they also have a low blink rate and their eyes get very dry as well. So, and really a lot of neurodegenerative diseases will have this. Any type of disease that actually lowers your blink rate. So, Ruth, I can attest to this. My dad, his gaze, his uh the shape of their I think Ruth, you would know this, but the shape of their eyes actually changes. Their eyeballs seem to get smaller and their gaze gets more direct. They have a fixed gaze. It's called a fixed gaze. And their gaze is fixed and then their blink rate goes down. So they sit there and they just focus on you, focus on you, focus on you, and they don't change. They don't blink, they don't do anything. So yeah, Ruth, you can get pinhole glasses on Amazon. Thank you for letting the people know that. Some people say that if you work on eye exercises, like if I don't know, do you guys know about here? I'm gonna bring up an Instagrammer. It's cultivate. I don't know what his whole name is, his handle. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? He has done several reels where he talks about improving eye health. I don't know if he's talked about pinhole glasses, but can you train your eyes? I think that there are eye exercises that you can train, and maybe, just maybe, it could change the shape of your eyes. Can pinhole glasses fix your sight? I'm not sure because I think it's a refraction problem, and I don't know if you could train your eyeballs in such a way that you could fix the refraction problem. I'm not sure. Yeah, Ruth says eyeball exercise. I'm just not sure one what they are. I think isn't Ruth one where you focus on something far away in or you turn your head. What are you turn your head and you look as far is, or not, no, you don't turn your head. You actually turn your eyes. So you turn your eyes as far right and then far left. And then isn't it you focus on something far and then bring it back? I can't remember, but eye exercises. Yeah. Okay. Don't listen to Dr. J on eyes. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Yali, I didn't see it. What is your homocysteine question? I'm sorry. I didn't see it. Or did I? I thought you said your homocysteine was 10. Wasn't that you that said your homocysteine was 10.3 or something? And is that a problem? I would say no. But I would definitely get a B12 and a folate level just in general. And I would monitor homocysteine. Homocysteine, why homocysteine is bad. When we're talking about coronary artery disease, homocysteine is like sandpaper. Yes, Ruth, that's who it is. Cultivate, elevate. That is who that guy is. I don't know where he lives, but yeah, I like listening to his stuff. I really do. I may or may not agree with everything, but I just like the way he talks. I like his smooth voice. Um, yeah, 10.32, not a problem. I did answer that question, Yali. Penny asks, what causes eye twitching? It is a spasm in the muscle of your eye. And for the most part, Penny, your eyes are probably tired. Most people will get twitching of their eyes. The muscle will twitch because the muscles are overstimulated. They're hyperactive. They're tired. They're tired because they've been trying to focus all the time. So, computer work, TV work, phone work, anytime that you are having to hyper focus, you're going to cause your muscles to get hyper tired. And then they're going to start twitching to tell you to relieve them. Okay. People who have dry eyes, you will notice that they will squeeze their eyes shut and then open them and then squeeze them shut because they're trying to actually lubricate. By squeezing their eyes shut, they're actually trying to lubricate their glands to release that lipid secretion inside their eyeballs, their lids. They're trying to increase the lipid secretion out of their glands. Okay. Henry says, I exercise and improve from a diopter of 3 to a diopter of 1.75. I guess that's excellent. Is that a huge improvement, Henry? Again, I am not even remotely um, well versed in eye stuff. I'm so sorry. Um, in the case of MTHFR, riboflavin is needed and thyroid function to convert it to bioavailable form. Yes, if you have MTHFR, you lack the enzyme that breaks down folic acid into methylated folate. You cannot methylate. You do not have active folate. 49% of the population is MTHFR positive, whether one gene or two genes. 49% of the population are not very good methylators. Okay. Riboflavin being a B vitamin. So we are probably low on B vitamins. And I would especially say that if they don't eat any red meat, then they're going to be low. If they're not eating animals, then they're going to be low on B vitamins in general. So that puts the people into, as a problem. Also, if that person has MTHFR and they're a muscle meat eating person, their methionine is going to be so high with so many sulfur amino acids, their homocysteine could be sky high. That is a danger. Remember, homocysteine is like sandpaper to the lining of the artery. It causes injury in and of itself. So how do you improve the injury? Or how do you take away injury? Get your homocysteine level down, get your insulin level down, get your sugar level down, get your iron levels, get rid of iron overload, get rid of alcohol and smoking and on and on and on, and polyunsaturated fatty acids in the form of seed oils. I could go on and on. There's so many ways to injure the lining of our arteries. High blood pressure, which is usually from high insulin, which is usually from high carbohydrates. So there's a lot going on. I know I keep saying that, but there is. To understand the physiology and the biology of our body, it takes a lot. And 4 years of medical school and 3 to 4 years of residency and fellowship does not give you this. This is self-taught. How do we check what caused AFib? I am guessing most AFib will start because of coronary artery disease, blockages in arteries. That will be my thought process. Metabolically, yeah, metabolically, they probably have signs of insulin resistance or diabetes. But the electrical system usually rides hand in hand with a poor plumbing system. Um, okay, Ruth, I will get that book. Jacob Lieberman, Take Off Your Glasses and See. The book by Jacob Lieberman, Lieberman, titled Take Off Your Glasses and See. I wonder if Cultivate Elevate wrote it or read it. Liz says, how does one treat sciatica? Sciatica is a nerve. It's the largest nerve. And if you were to dissect it, it's probably the size of my index finger. It's one of the largest in diameter nerves in our body. It runs out of L5 area and it runs down our buttock. So it runs in through our butt. It runs through the piriformis muscle. So people get sciatica when they have tight butt cheeks or a tight piriformis muscle, or they sit on their butt a lot. And at the same time, they rotate their foot outward. Say you are driving for a living, like a truck driver, and you have your foot on the gas pedal and it's turned off to the side. So your leg is rotated out, your foot rotated out. You are putting all the pressure on your sciatic nerve that runs out of or through your buttock, Okay. Can it be pinched up higher in the L5S1 area? Yes. But most people who get sciatica, they get that first pinch in their butt and then it sends a signal down their leg. How do you fix that? How do you treat it? Stop wearing your billfold in that pocket, in your back pocket. Don't sit on that side and continuously squeeze that nerve. Stretch the piriformis. You can Google exercises for stretching the piriformis. Do cat, you know how you do those exercises where you hunch your back, then sink your back, hunch your back. So you need to exercise, you need to stretch your back. Don't cross your legs. You should never cross your legs, you guys, ever. Guys should not cross their legs and girls should not cross their, that worsens sciatica. It worsens hip pain. It can make hip pain worse. Ruth says chronic stress can suppress the immune system. Love and compassion may enhance it. May or does? Probably does. Henry says, I agree with the premise. So, Henry, did you read the book? I don't, is that what you're saying? You read the book? So, let me know. Lieberman. I just got to remember Lieberman and then I'll go look. All right. Thoughts on a GLP for a 71-year-old to lose 30 pounds? 30 pounds of what, PJ? 30 pounds of muscle and bone at the age of 71 that you will never get back? PJ, when you take a GLP, I understand that you need to probably get some weight off. 30 pounds is a lot, right? But at 71, the chances of you losing a lot of muscle mass and bone mass is very high because you will not be eating enough nutrition to keep your muscles fed, and they will break down to try to give you fuel. And I just can't recommend that. But I feel for you having to lose 30 pounds. What I would suggest is taking away what is causing your weight. If it's carbohydrates, you got to say no. If it's soda, you have to say no. You have to remove what is causing your obesity instead of taking something that is going to simply get you to stop eating. I don't want you to stop eating at the age of 71. I want you to eat proper foods. And carbohydrates are not essential. They're not essential. There's no essential carbohydrate. You need essential amino acids and essential fatty acids. Yes, cow cat stretch. Jiminy Christmas. Thank you, Ruth. See how you guys help me? I can just like lead you into it and you'll tell me the answer. I know the things, I just sometimes don't remember the actual phrases. PJ, did I answer your question? Vicky says, how do we protect our hips as we age? That's a great question. Um, are you bored, buddy? That is a great question. I don't know the exact answer. Honestly, I don't. I know that we probably should not be lifting extremely heavy weights. But what I would say is somewhere along the line, the cartilage between where when the femur hits into the cup in in the pelvis, that joint has cartilage in it. It's called a labrum. And that labrum needs blood flow and that labrum needs nutrients. And maybe it is a cartilage thing, Vicky. Maybe you do need a dose of glycine. Maybe you do need to take paleo collagen supplement or drink a gallon of bone broth a day. I I think if I would do everything over again, I probably would increase collagen and I would decrease stress like running over and over hitting the pavement. Those are the things I would do. L. Evans says glutathione supplementation, yes or no? No. Let your body make its own. Do not take a synthetic master antioxidant when your body can make your own. Why can't you make your own? Low glycine, low cysteine, low glutamate. Which one of those or all of them are low and why? Bad diet? Most likely. Flow state. Thank you, Phyllis. I appreciate that. Yeah, Henry. Henry says, using a Nancy Reagan slogan, just say no to carbs. Lieberman. Oh, Liber. Okay, thanks, Ruth. I appreciate it. I would have gotten it. I would have found it. Sil says, what do you recommend to increase stomach acid in order to digest proteins properly? I would ask, why is your stomach acid low? It's not just because you're aging. Is it something because what you're eating? That's enough. Go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down. Tootsie. She gets so attitude-ish with me. Could you take is it betaine? Hydrochloric, I don't know, you guys. How do you know if your stomach acid is low? Did you do a manometry? Did you find out that you have low? Is it something you're eating? That would be my first things is take away what I'm not take away what is causing the low acid. Are you taking in baking soda? Do you take a proton pump inhibitor like Prilosec or Z-Grid or something like that? Could you take apple cider vinegar for digestion? So it's also for short chain fatty acids, but do you want to do that on a regular basis? I'm just not sure. Jackass is a plant-based glycine supplement. Okay. Do plants have glycine, Jack? how does a plant have glycine? I would say that you need to eat animals, animals to get your glycine. Take animal glycine. Vicky, you're very welcome. Melanie says, I take a good liposomal glutathione supplement before and after radiation exposure, mammogram, CTs, etc. Or bump up your glycine, and your glycine will kickstart your glutathione. But it's up to you guys. All right. I think you guys had a rush of questions at the very end. One minute I say, okay, I think that's it. There's no more questions. Then all of a sudden they keep coming in. You're very welcome, Liz. Thank you for being here. Okay. We will call it quits. And Lord willing, I'll be back next Saturday at 9 a.m. Central. Hopefully the Instagrammers, we will not get cut off, but today it was twice. I want to end with that verse. I think it was great. I can't remember who brought that up, but it's First Thessalonians 5:21-22. And it is a great reminder of how do we know the truth? How do we know what we read or what we study is the right? That verse, First Thessalonians 5:21-22 says, test everything, examine everything carefully, hold fast to that which is true, and abstain from that which is evil. I know it sounds like it's circular logic, but what I get from that verse is when you hold fast to truth, you are holding fast to Jesus. And I believe that a follower of Christ who has the Holy Spirit in them will get these signals, these feelings. You guys call it a gut feeling, or I had a gut feeling about that. Well, I know that that's not the real term. I had a Holy Spirit feeling that said that is not right. Okay. Or that is right. Affirmation. Sometimes I don't feel good about what I just read or said. And I said, I don't know, you guys, is that right? That doesn't feel right. Then I got to dig deeper. Okay. So examine everything carefully. Do not be gullible. Don't be gullible with these people selling stuff online. If you guys see me selling something online, know that I have been entered back into the matrix, okay? I will tell you straight up if I am being paid a kickback for something, okay? I have considered doing a reel on lifeline screening. It's the 3 areas where you do, testing for cardiovascular disease, okay? Lifeline screening. Will they pay you to do a reel? It is quite possible. Why would I do a reel? Because I believe it's one more screening tool that could pick up like your carotid arteries or checking your abdominal aorta for any widening or screening for peripheral arterial disease with an ankle brachial index or checking for AFib. It's just one more screening that you might not know the signs. And if you pay, what is it? I don't know how much it is, $200 or something to get that screening. Sometimes you go into their little vans and then they do the thing in your community. I don't know. That's not really selling a product. I'm not selling a product. I'm trying to maybe encourage you to get just one more screening that doesn't have any radiation involved, and it could pick up a risk factor for a stroke or another type of event, a cardiovascular event. Okay. It's possible. And it could be the only thing. Your doctor didn't pick it up, you didn't pick it up, your watch didn't pick it up, and you got a Lifeline screen and it did pick it up. Just something I've been kind of mulling around because there's a lot of these things that you could do, like for me, to make extra money. And it seems if somebody asked me to do one on, calcium scores, I guess I could see where if I did a reel on calcium scores and they paid me, that I really wouldn't be influencing you, but you guys know that a calcium score is only going to pick up hard plaque and it doesn't pick up soft plaque. But I would say that in the reel, right? I would tell you everything I'm telling you right now. It's just that they would give you bullet points to make sure you talked about it. And I don't know if there's a company that does for calcium scores or not. I just made that up. But stuff like that, I don't feel that I would be it would change the relationship at all. But who knows? You guys might be offended by that, and I'm very cautious about that. I don't want to sell things, and I don't want because I could be if I sold supplements or I sold things, I just think it ruins the ethics of it. I might be trying to sell my product before and making not maybe even making stuff up, but being so blinded that my product is the only one that you need. And it isn't. You might not need it at all, but I could sell it to you. Anyway, I don't want to take money for that kind of stuff. All right, you guys. Lord willing, I'll be back next Saturday, 9 a.m. Central. Until then, you guys have a great week. If you have a subject you want me to do in a reel, you guys have been really good about that. Shoot that information to me. Either message me or email it to me, and that would I'll do my best. Okay. All right. You guys have a great day. See ya.